A person lifts another from rock bottom, gives money during bankruptcy, provides emotional support through a divorce, offers a job when no one else would. And then something shifts. The saved person starts making small comments, a joke at the wrong time, a cold shoulder, then silence, then open criticism, then betrayal. This pattern repeats across families, friendships, and workplaces. The question is not whether it happens. The question is why the brain of the person who receives help turns against the one who gave it. The answer lives inside a psychological mechanism most people refuse to look at. When someone accepts significant help, their brain registers a debt, not a financial debt, an emotional and status debt. The human mind tracks power imbalances automatically, like a scale that never stops moving. On one side sits the helper, on the other side sits the helped, and the helped side feels heavier. The brain reads that weight as inferiority, and the brain hates inferiority more than it loves gratitude. Here is what actually happens inside the skull of the person you save. The moment you provide something they could not provide for themselves, their mind flags you as superior. This is not a conscious choice. The brain uses an ancient ranking system called social comparison. Every human runs this system in the background, comparing status, resources, and capability with every person they interact with. When you help, you raise your position in their mental ranking. They drop lower. The prefrontal cortex registers this drop as a threat to their place in the social hierarchy, and the threat response activates before any feeling of thanks even arrives. Think about a specific example. A coworker loses their job. You use your connections to get them hired at your own company. They thank you repeatedly at first. Then, 6 months later, they spread a rumor that you only helped them to look good. Or they start undermining your work in meetings. Or they stop returning your messages. The surface story makes no sense, but the brain story is completely logical. Every time they see you, their mind replays the moment they needed you. That memory triggers the same neural discomfort as remembering a public failure. To escape that discomfort, the brain rewrites the story. You become the villain. Your help becomes manipulation. Your kindness becomes control. The brain protects its owner from feeling inferior by turning the helper into a threat. This is not ingratitude. This is neurological self-defense. The dorsal anterior cingulate cortex processes social pain and physical pain through the same circuits. When a person feels indebted, that region activates with low-level discomfort, like a muscle cramp that won't go away. The longer the debt remains unpaid, the more intense the discomfort grows. And because most debts of this kind cannot be repaid, the discomfort never resolves. So the brain finds a different solution. It attacks the source of the debt. It attacks you. The philosopher who mapped this terrain was Friedrich Nietzsche. He called the transformation of powerlessness into hatred, ressentiment. A person who cannot strike back at the source of their weakness creates a moral story where the stronger person is actually evil. The weak person tells themselves, "I am not inferior, I am more moral. I would never treat someone the way they treated me." This story flips the power dynamic without changing anything real. The weak person feels superior through imagined virtue, and the helper becomes the target of quiet, building rage. Watch how this shows up in real relationships. A friend lends money for rent. The borrower stops calling. When they finally meet, the borrower makes passive comments about how easy the lender has it. Or a parent sacrifices their own career to pay for a child's education. The child later accuses the parent of being controlling. Or a partner supports their spouse through a long illness. The spouse recovers and then leaves, saying the relationship felt unequal. In every case, the helped person does not see themselves as ungrateful. They see themselves as finally free. and the helper becomes the symbol of their former weakness. The brain's avoidance of inferiority runs deeper than most people understand. Studies in social psychology show that people remember being helped as more uncomfortable than they remember the actual help. The mind reconstructs the memory over time, editing out the relief and amplifying the shame. A person who received $5,000 to avoid eviction will, 3 years later, remember the shame of asking more vividly than the relief of staying housed. And the person who handed over the money becomes the face of that shame. The brain cannot hate itself for needing help, so it hates you instead. This explains why betrayals often happen long after the help is given. The helped person may feel genuine gratitude in the first weeks or months, but time does not heal the debt. Time deepens the discomfort because the debt remains unpaid. The helper did not ask for repayment. That is actually worse. An unpaid loan can be settled. An unpaid emotional debt has no finish line. The helped person looks for ways to feel equal again. They may try to help you back, but nothing feels big enough. They may try to outshine you in another area, but your original help stands as permanent proof of their past need. Eventually, any path to feeling equal requires diminishing the value of what you gave. They start saying, "It wasn't that big a deal," or "They only helped because they wanted something," or "Anyone would have done the same." Each sentence reduces your role and lifts their ego. The final step is to attack you directly, because if you are flawed, then accepting your help means nothing. The most dangerous helpers are the most effective ones. A person who solves problems completely, who removes all struggle, who gives without any visible cost to themselves, creates the heaviest debt. The brain of the recipient cannot find any flaw to hold on to. The help was perfect. The helper seemed unstoppable. That perfection becomes unbearable. The recipient searches desperately for a crack. If none exists, they invent one. They imagine motives. They reinterpret kindness as manipulation. They convince themselves the helper was feeding their own ego. This is not rational, but the brain does not prioritize rationality. It prioritizes self-esteem. Nietzsche wrote about the will to power as the fundamental drive beneath all human behavior. Not survival, not happiness. Power, the feeling of competence, autonomy, and control. Help, no matter how generous, takes a direct blow at another person's will to power. It says, without words, "You could not do this alone." That message lands like a punch. The recipient may smile and thank you, but underneath, their nervous system is processing a threat. And the threat does not go away until they either surpass you or destroy the relationship. Some people choose to surpass you. They work harder, learn more, and eventually stand on their own. Those people usually remain grateful because they no longer feel inferior. They climbed out of the debt hole by building their own strength. But others cannot climb. They lack the discipline, the talent, or the courage. For those people, surpassing you is impossible, so the only remaining escape is to tear you down. They do not need to become stronger than you. They only need to make you seem weaker. Criticism, gossip, betrayal, and abandonment all serve the same purpose. They reduce your status in their mind, and when your status drops, the debt shrinks. This explains why the people who need the most help often turn the hardest. A person who has failed repeatedly, who has burned through friends and family, who has no resources of their own, carries a mountain of unpaid emotional debt. Every person who helped them stands as a monument to their failure. They cannot repay any of those debts, so they reject all of them. They tell themselves that everyone who helped was secretly selfish, that every supporter had an agenda, that no one ever truly believed in them. This story is false, but it is the only story that lets them sleep at night. The helper is never the problem. The problem is the structure of help itself. Any significant assistance creates three unavoidable psychological consequences. First, the recipient experiences a loss of autonomy, even temporarily. Second, the helper becomes a living reminder of that loss. Third, the recipient's brain searches for an escape from the discomfort. That escape is either genuine growth or quiet destruction. Most people choose destruction because growth requires pain and time. Destruction only requires a story. Watch for the warning signs. A person who cannot say thank you without adding a qualifier. Thank you, but I would have figured it out. A person who brings up your help in arguments as if you used it against them. You think you're better than me because you gave me that money. A person who constantly compares their struggles to yours, trying to prove they had it harder. These are not signs of gratitude. They are signs of a brain struggling under the weight of debt. The person is not angry at you. They are angry at the imbalance. But you are the only visible target. So what does this mean for someone who wants to help without creating enemies? The answer is not to stop helping. The answer is to change the structure of help so the debt never forms. Help that creates dependency is dangerous. Help that builds autonomy is safe. A person who solves a problem for someone else creates a debtor. A person who gives someone the tools to solve their own problem creates an equal. The difference is subtle in action but massive in psychological effect. Practical examples make this clear. Instead of giving money for rent, offer to help them find a cheaper apartment or negotiate with the landlord. Instead of writing a resume for a friend, sit with them while they write their own. Instead of fixing a coworker's mistake, show them how to avoid it next time. In every case, the recipient does the hard work. You only provide guidance. Their success becomes their own. Their brain assigns the credit to themselves. No debt forms because they did not receive something they could not earn. They earned it. You just pointed. The second rule is to never help more than once in a short period. A single act of help creates manageable discomfort. Repeated help creates crushing debt. A person who receives 3 favors in 1 month cannot process the accumulated imbalance. Their brain shifts from gratitude to resentment much faster. Space out your help. Let them sit with the memory of the first act before you offer a second. Some of them will distance themselves after the first act. That is fine. They are telling you they cannot handle more. The third rule is to never remind someone of what you gave. Not once, not as a joke, not as a subtle hint, not even when they attack you. The moment you say, after everything I did for you, the debt becomes explicit. And explicit debt is humiliation. The person will not feel shame and apologize. They will feel attacked and defend themselves by attacking back harder. Silence about your own help is not humility. It is strategy. Every reminder you suppress is a bullet you do not give them to fire back at you. The fourth rule is to only help if you are genuinely prepared for the relationship to end. Help is a test. It reveals who can carry debt and who collapses under it. Strong people say thank you, work hard, and eventually stand beside you as equals. Weak people say thank you, then disappear, then return as critics. Help them once. Watch what happens. If they vanish, you have learned something valuable. Do not chase them. Do not demand gratitude. Let them go. Their betrayal is not your failure. It is their diagnosis. The fifth rule is the hardest. Never help someone who has not asked for help. Unsolicited help is not kindness. It is a power move. The brain reads it as an invasion. A person who did not ask for your help did not consent to the debt. And they will resent you more than someone who asked and received. Wait to be asked. If someone never asks, they do not want your help. Respect that. Your desire to save them is not their emergency. It is your ego. The deepest truth about this entire dynamic is that strong people appreciate help and weak people experience it as a threat. This is not a moral statement. It is an observation about psychological capacity. A strong person has enough self-worth to accept a debt and pay it back over time. They do not feel diminished by needing help because their identity is not fragile. A weak person has built their identity on the story of their own struggle. Help shatters that story. They cannot survive the shattering, so they destroy the helper instead. Nietzsche understood this without modern neuroscience. He saw that the same people who preach humility and gratitude are often the ones most poisoned by resentment. They perform thankfulness on the outside while their inner world burns with envy. They cannot say, "I needed you," so they say, "You needed to feel needed." They cannot say, "I failed," so they say, "You set me up to fail." Every sentence is a mirror flipped backward so they never have to see themselves. There is a final layer to this that most discussions never reach. The person who constantly helps, who gives endlessly, who saves everyone, is often not a saint. They are someone who needs to be needed. The act of helping feeds their own will to power. They feel strong, competent, and valuable because others depend on them. This is not evil, but it is a transaction. And transactions always have two sides. The helper gets status and meaning. The helped gets resources and a debt. When the helped person finally betrays them, the helper plays the victim. But they helped create the dynamic. They picked people who could not repay. They gave more than was asked. They made themselves indispensable, and then they acted surprised when the person they made dependent resented them for it. The cold truth is that helping is a weapon. It can build loyalty or it can build enemies. The difference is not in the size of the help. The difference is in the psychological structure around the help. A person who helps without creating debt walks away clean. A person who helps by creating dependency walks away with a future enemy. The hand that lifts also shapes the mind of the one being lifted. And most people do not want to be shaped. They want to believe they lifted themselves. Watch any long-term relationship where one person consistently gives more than the other. The giver feels generous, the receiver feels trapped. The giver expects loyalty. The receiver dreams of escape. And when the receiver finally leaves or attacks, the giver is genuinely confused. They remember every sacrifice. The receiver remembers every moment of shame. Both are telling the truth. The giver's truth is about actions. The receiver's truth is about feelings. Feelings always win. The most dangerous helpers are the ones who cannot stop. They see a problem and jump to solve it. They hear a complaint and rush to fix it. They sense weakness and move to protect it. Every act of help feels good in the moment. But over time, they build a graveyard of relationships where every person they saved eventually walked away bitter. They blame ingratitude. They should look at their own pattern. They helped too much, too fast, and too permanently. They did not leave room for the other person to breathe, to struggle, to grow. They stole the other person's struggle. And struggle is the only thing that builds genuine self-worth. This is the ultimate payout of understanding this dynamic. Helping someone and saving someone are not the same thing. Helping means they do most of the work. You assist. Saving means you do all the work. They watch. Helping builds equals. Saving builds debtors who hate their creditors. Every time you are tempted to save someone, ask yourself one question. Do you want a partner or a project? Partners stay. Projects eventually explode in your face. The person you save will hate you not because you did something wrong. They will hate you because you made them feel small, and the human mind cannot live with smallness. It will burn down the entire relationship just to feel tall again. Let that truth sit cold in your chest the next time someone asks for help. Say yes if you want, but know exactly what you are buying. You are buying a debt. And debts, even unpaid ones, always come due. The only question is whether they pay you back with loyalty or with a knife. Most choose the knife. It is cheaper.